Okay, now we're in scenario number 2 for King's Indian attack. And this is what happens when you play knight to f3 and your opponent tries to play the Pirc, which is Pirc's invitation. Again, there are two different ways you can play the King's Indian attack. And in one of the other scenarios that we're going to go over, we're going to actually go over like what happens if you try to play the e4 variation of the King's Indian attack. We're going to go over that. And in chapter 2, obviously, we're going to start looking at the Réti Gambit. But first, we're going to look at this. So, if you play knight to f3 first and then he plays d6, you do not want to give them the Pirc defense that they want. What does end up happening in a scenario like this is that if your opponent tries to still play a Pirc-like structure, it does transpose back to King's Indian attack. It does transpose back to the King's Indian attack, but what ends up happening is that it transposes into a mirrored variation of the King's Indian attack, which is called the symmetrical defense. In this variation of King's Indian attack, which we will, we will cover the. I mean, we were going to cover the symmetrical defense a little bit more in detail. We'll probably do that in one of the future scenarios. But okay, what do you want to do for scenario 3? Okay, you know what? Yes, for scenario 3, for scenario 3 we're going to cover the actual like symmetrical defense in a little bit more detail. Okay, we'll do that. The most common way that the symmetrical defense gets played is you would go e4 like you normally would, but the engine doesn't like that. The engine doesn't like that. What the engine prefers that you do is play c4 instead. Against this, because like if you play e4 c5, and because if you play e4 c5, black is better. You do not want to. I did play a game like this in an Olympiad. Yes, I did play a game like this in the Olympiad, and I did get whooped. You don't want to get whooped like this. So don't do that, okay? Don't do that. So your best option is to play c4 instead. And against this, he will play c5. Or at least he theoretically should. Because if he plays e5 here, well, at that point you're better, but what happens is, you'll play knight c3, and then he'll play knight c6. And what's going to happen is this is going to, remind you very much of the likes of Levi Rossman's English opening chapter. Yeah, oh, it even says it right here, Anglo-Indian King's Indian defense. On Lichess, it will not say Anglo-Indian King's Indian defense. For some reason, in this version of chess, it somehow does say Anglo-Indian King's Indian defense. I don't know why, because King's Indian defense is actually c4 and d4. That's what King's Indian defense is. This is not necessarily King's Indian defense, but I don't know. But But this is definitely going to be what Levi Rossman will teach you if you pick up his English opening course. It's super ironic that I'm teaching this when I'm teaching King's Indian Attack because, like, I don't know, this is what the engine recommends, and I don't see any other, like, I, I, I thought about playing e5, no, e4 instead, but no, that's losing. Don't do that. I mean, this is as good as it gets, I guess. From here you just go rook. Yeah, rook b1. Yeah, this is where I don't know. Does Levy teach that? I don't know. Hopefully this is going to be its own thing, but whatever. And it does transpose into the reverse Sicilian terminal full symmetry line. I mean, that's what the engine recommends for some reason. I mean, here, what happens if you go? What happens if you go rook e1? No, that's deviation. No, that's deviation. Here, what happens if you b3? Oh, King's Indian defense bayonets attack. Oh, it does go into bayonets attack here, but I don't know. Against this, I mean, why is it like that? Against this, I mean, you should be fine. Oh gosh. Against this, you should be fine technically. Where are we here? Where are we here? Uh. No. Oh. No, that's... No, no, no. No. No, that's not... Huh. This is... No. Yeah, okay. So we were here. B3. There we go. Against this... Oh, it's just... Well, it was still Anglo-Indian King's Indian defense. Okay, cool. There's that variation you could play. I mean... No. I mean, against this, like... Is there h3? We are... no, that's b3. But we already talked about b3. Anyway, if you really want to learn more about this variation of the symmetrical King's Indian attack, then you can definitely check out Levi Rossman's English opening against King's Indian defense. That'll give you a better idea on here. But yeah, this is why you definitely don't want to play. That is why you definitely don't want to play you definitely don't want to give him the Pirc. Again, one of the ways you can fight this Pirc invitation is to play d4. You might be wondering why we're playing d4 when we're trying to play King's Indian attack. It's actually because when he goes like this, you set this up, and then it goes like this, it goes like this. It transposes into a King's Indian defense, and then you castle. And this is where we remember what we talked about. This is exactly what we meant when we say that you may have to learn both sides of King's Indian attack and both sides of King's Indian defense. We're taking a little bit of a sneak preview of chapter 6, but in this version or scenario, we're on the opposite side. We're playing against the King's Indian defense in this version. So against this, now you're going to have to really try to make this work. And again, the script is now flipped. Now it's you that has to attack. It's now you that has to attack on the queen side, sorry. And they have to attack on the king side. So against this, the most common way to face it, you already saw this in scenario 1. Now the colors are flipped. And then what happens if your opponent plays this? I don't know why it's not better for white to play like this and black to play like this, sorry, at that point. But, I mean, theoretically, black really could play like this. We already saw this in scenario 1. There's a bonus tip for you if you really want to try this. And then he has to go knight d7. And it's just like what we talked about earlier. And we play it the same way. But again, after this, which I don't know why it's called Iranian Terminal Defense on these applications, because when I looked at the actual opening database, it's actually called Iranian Terminal Attack. That's what it's actually called. It's also known as the Mar del Plata Attack. And as for the black pieces, it's actually, yeah, this is the Mar del Plata Attack. This is what it's called. And then you obviously, and then the main line is this, and then knight to e7, and then the main line of Mar del Plata Attack is b4, which transposes into the bayonet attack. Now you're going to see multiple variations of this bayonet attack in this scenario too, and it'll all make sense very soon, or at least I hope. Against this, your next move you're going to be facing is knight to h5 is one of the moves that you're going to be seeing. And against this, you just go rook e1. This has been tried at a game where Ding Liren played this. Like, I'm pretty sure Ding Liren was the black pieces in that game. Don't do this. It's actually not very good. Don't do this. It's actually not very good. If you want to know what happened in this game, like, you can, like, browse through here and then... I mean, Ding Liren... Somebody made a mistake here and then Ding Liren proceeded to win this game. But this is what would have happened if nobody made any mistakes and this would have gone on. And it would have been a draw. And then it would have been a draw. Normally you just go rook e1. And then he'll go knight to f4. bishop f1, a5. Because now he's trying to like stop you from attacking on the queen side. But you just proceed anyway. Again, this is very much in the style of what we saw in the first scenario, except now it's us that's attacking on the queen side, and them that's attacking on the king side. And then this is this Sokolov line, yeah. Another way you can, if you, I mean, we will go over the e4 variation of the King's Indian attack a little later, probably in scenario 4, but in the event that you do play this variation, right? And then you do run into the Pirc defense. In that scenario, you can go about this in multiple ways, but one of the ways that I recommend facing the Pirc defense like this is c4. It's called an inaccuracy, but why do I recommend it? Well, your opponent will just mindlessly just play the same structure. And then when he does, he will inevitably run into this, which ends up being the King's Indian defense. King's Indian defense, yeah. There are two ways you can play this King's Indian defense this way. The first is obviously what we saw earlier, where, again, it transposes into this, the normal variation of the King's Indian defense. But if you play the e4 variation of King's Indian attack, and then it runs into the Pirc variation, and then it ends up like this, you can also play the 4 pawns attack. Against the 4 pawns attack, he'll castle, and then you play knight to f3, c5, d5, e6. By the way, if you do run into the 4 pawns attack, don't play e5. The main line of the 4 pawns attack is c5, and then you play d5 to close it out early. You shut the knight maneuver early, and then he'll go e6, bishop e2, e takes d5, c takes d5, bishop g4, castles king side, and then the game goes on from here. It's pretty live. Knight bd7, h3, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, rook e8. You get the drill from here. Against this knight to f3, again, in the event that he'll castle, and then bishop e2, and then e5, he'll strike there. You castle, knight to c6, d5, knight to e7, b4, bayonet attack. Same song and dance we saw from earlier. You know the drill from there. But another way you can face this wait, hold on. Another way you can face this is another way you can face the Pirc invitation is you can also just play. No, we already saw this. You already saw this. Another way you can face the Pirc defense like this is to go here. You're probably wondering why we're playing into the main line of the Pirc defense. And the reason why you can do this is because, well, obviously you wouldn't play knight to f3 here, you would play knight c3. And there's an obvious reason why you would do this. And he'll usually go g6. And then when he goes g6 here, your next move is bishop e3. And then whatever your opponent plays, and this is Pirc defense main line, you play queen to d2. And this is called 150 attack. Against the 150 attack, he will fianchetto, and then you castle queenside. Well, you could. I don't know what else you would have to play. Oh, the next move is knight to f3. And then this is somehow the subtlest variation. This is somehow this is also the modern defense now, but this is exactly why I specified that the modern defense and the Pirc defense will both be covered in chapter 4. It's exactly because of this. They both transpose to each other. And then he'll probably go knight bd7 and then... I mean, I'll still recommend castling here. I'll still recommend castling here. And then, yeah, b5. Just... And then it goes into a game like this. It goes into a game like this. Sure, I'm pretty sure I can play that. Another way this can go is, another way this can go, instead of playing bishop e3, you can play bishop e2. And you're probably wondering why you would want to play that instead. It's actually because if he fianchettos like this, and you play h4, this too is called bayonet attack. Which is super weird. And this is exactly what I was going to tell you. There's more than one bayonet attack that you're going to learn. In the Pirc defense, what's different here is that you're still attacking on the king side and he's still attacking you from the queen side, even though he's the one that's doing the whole boxa setup. And you're going to learn this difference in chapter 4. But again, you get to see all this unfold from the opposing side. And these chapters are all connected to one another. And you'll see this very, yeah, c5. That's the main line here. He plays it like the Samish variation. And then your main line is d takes c5, queen to a5. He's starting the queenside attack right away. Bishop d2, queen takes c5, h5, g takes h5, knight to h3, knight c6, knight to f4, bishop g4, f3, bishop e6, a4, bishop h6. There's that. If your opponent plays... There is this. I mean, there's this you could also play, like, against... Which one was it? Yeah, against, this, right? You can also play this, which is called Austrian attack. And if you want to learn more about the Austrian attack, and then it's knight to f3, castles, and then, like, bishop d3, d3, yeah. Knight to c6. again, this is, again, you will definitely learn this in the modern chapter as well. This is, if you try to play the modern defense, you will definitely run into this. And then some of the, and then I'm pretty sure there are two. Well, there's obviously Levi Rossman, but there's also somebody by the name of Solomon Riddell that is also going to teach you how to play against the Austrian attack. So I may as well spend this time to like go over how to play the Austrian attack, just in case. Yeah, H3. Oh, we're already deviating from. Alright, so the main line theory is over. Okay. Knight to b4. Knight to b4. So I'll go here. Against this, bishop b2, bishop b2, how do you... Bishop b2, c5 is the next move. And then from here, you want to close it in like this. And then he'll try to play e6 to deal with that pawn. And then you kick the knight. And then he'll go knight to a6. And then immediately you take. And then it's bishop takes. And then at that point, you've already done your trade, so now all you have to do is castle here. Knight to c7 is one of the... Okay, yeah, so he'll probably go here, trying to... what is Black trying to do? I mean, shouldn't he be attacking you from the queen side? I don't get what's going on here. Knight to g5, right? That's your next move. Now you get to attack with the knight. And then queen to e7 to protect the knight a little closer. And then you go f5 to attack the bishop. Takes. And then the bishop retreats. Bishop to f4. And then he'll try to like attack you from the middle for some reason, and then you just... Oh, is it bishop takes? Oh yeah, bishop takes c7, yeah? That's a free knight. Queen to e3 check. You block with the rook, and then he will take that knight. And then you go bishop f4, yeah? And that threatens the queen. Queen takes f5, yeah. So he's trying to take the pawn. Against this, you have bishop e3 to open up the line. Now the queen is under attack. And he'll go queen e5 to attack both of these bishops. But that's a free pawn. And eventually you'll claw your material back like this. And the game goes on pretty far from here. And yeah, if you do play the e4 variation of the King's Indian attack, then you will end up running into a scenario where you can just deviate and just play into the Pirc's defense and just play the 150 attack, the Austrian attack. You can play those to like really mess with your opponent, or you can try to like deviate and just quickly transpose it into either a symmetrical variation of the King's Indian attack, which would then transpose into the Anglo-Indian defense, and then it goes into the King's Indian defense from there. Or you can, or another way you can face this is like there are a number of ways you can face this. You can transpose it into a King's Indian defense, and then you can play the bayonet attack from there. You also have two different. Wait, didn't I? Yeah, there's another. There is another. Hold on. Didn't I? Yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. You will run into this, which is called line defense. And if you run into this, your next move is G4, which is also called bayonet attack. Yeah, there are 3 different types of bayonet attack. I had to do the research on this. Oh god. And that is another way you can disrupt their line defense, like, whole shtick. By the way, the line defense is what inspired me to write some stuff about the claw attack in the Italian game. The line defense, like, comes up with, like, the similar idea when it comes to, like, the actual, like, the actual, like, the claw idea. They're trying to use the lion's claw, so there's that going on, where your opponent will try to, like, form this structure, and then but you just stopped him. But that's where the whole claw attack idea came from. And then you just push your pawns from there, and then you just wreak havoc, just bust open the center like this. A bit of a hypermodern way to play the Italian game. There will be a video on it. It'll be in the martial course. But yeah, against this you have h3, e5. But you already stopped him from playing. G5. That's like the main variation of the line defense. But as you can see here, it's an inaccuracy because you have bishop e3 and what have you, and then you're pretty much like womp womp. And then their next move is c6, and then you're just winning here. You're just winning here. So again, you have like 3 different variations of the bayonet attack that you need to memorize. So I will link this in the description as well. And then in scenario 3, we're going to look at the symmetrical variation of the King's Indian attack in a little more detail. Alright, have fun.